The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Preface to the Russian edition of 1882. The first Russian edition of the Manifesto of the Communist Party, translated by Buchanan, was published early in the 60s by the printing office of the Kolokol. Then the West could see in it, the Russian edition of the Manifesto, only a literary curiosity. Such a view would be impossible today. What a limited field the proletarian movement still occupied at that time, December 1847, is most clearly shown by the last section of the manifesto, the position of the communists in relation to the various opposition parties in the various countries. Precisely, Russia and the United States are missing here. It was the time when Russia constituted the large great reserve of all European reaction, when the United States absorbed the surplus proletarian forces of Europe through immigration. Both countries provided Europe with raw materials and were at the same time markets for the sale of its industrial products. At the time, both were, therefore, in one way or another, pillars of the existing European order. How very different today! Precisely, European immigration fitted North America for a gigantic agricultural production whose competition is shaking the very foundations of European landed property, large and small. In addition, it enabled the United States to exploit its tremendous industrial resources with an energy and on a scale that must shortly break the industrial monopoly of Western Europe, and especially of England, existing up to now. Both circumstances reacted in revolutionary manner upon America itself. Step by step, the small and middle land ownership of the farmers, the basis of the whole political constitution, is succumbing to the competition of giant farms. Simultaneously, a mass proletariat and a fabulous concentration of capitals are developing for the first time in the industrial regions. And now Russia. During the revolution of 1848-49, not only the European princes, but the European bourgeoisie as well, found their only salvation from the proletariat, just beginning to awaken in Russian intervention. The Tsar was proclaimed the chief of European reaction. Today he is a prisoner of war of the revolution in Gut China, and Russia forms the vanguard of revolutionary action in Europe. The Communist Manifesto had as its object the proclamation of the inevitably impending dissolution of the modern bourgeoisie property. But in Russia we find, face to face with the rapidly developing capitalist swindle and bourgeoisie landed property, just beginning to develop, more than half the land owned in common by the peasants. Now the question is, can the Russian Obshchina, though greatly undermined, yet a form of the primeval common ownership of land, pass directly to the higher form of communist common ownership? Or, on the contrary, must it first pass through the same process of dissolution as constitutes the historical evolution of the West? The only answer to that possible today is this. If the Russian Revolution becomes the signal for a proletarian revolution in the West, so that both complement each other, the present Russian common ownership of land may serve as the starting point for a communist development. London, 21st of January, 1882, Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels.